For long ages they journeyed in that star-wrought craft, moving upon the borders of the firmament, watching the world they once guarded from afar. And the daughters of humankind were fair in their going and in their rising, and the light of the morning was upon their faces. And desire awoke within the watchers, not desire as flame devours, but as warmth stirs in the cold hollows of deep space. For long had they beheld the daughters of the earth walk in the fields, draw water from springs, laugh with their children beneath trees, mourn beside stones. Long had they measured the world, but not touched it. Long had they witnessed life, but not felt its breath. And Semyaza, who was chief among them, spoke first, for his heart was moved more than all others. And he said, "Behold them, they are fair, fair as lilies before the plough, warm as bread taken from the hearth, alive in a way our charts have never known." And the watchers turned their gaze to the earth, and the warmth of longing stirred within them. And Arachiel measured the heat of their flesh and said, "It is the warmth of love." And Kokabiel, whose laughter had not been heard since the first shaping of stars, laughed like a man recalling joy and said, "We have been colder than the void, and empty of all delight." Then no decree descended from heaven, nor was any command given to restrain them, for their yearning had grown full and heavy as a ripened fruit. And they said one to another, "Let us go down and dwell among them, for the earth is bright, and we are pale from long watching." And the pods were released, white and small, shaped like seed, and they fell from the heavens toward the world below. They fell not as stones, nor in silence, but with the faint sound of shells preparing for birth, casting a whisper through the clouds as they descended toward Mount Hermon. And the atmosphere peeled them open. Snow upon Hermon parted at their coming, and the mountains sighed beneath them, for Hermon had known the watchers in ages before the shaping of the garden. The pods rested upon the frost like vessels relinquished by the heavens, and the watchers stepped forth barefoot upon the snow. Their garments were white, woven as prayer is woven, falling in folds like cloth that remembers light. They bore no helmets, no wings of fire, no armor forged of stars, only skin pale from the long exile, and hearts hungering for the warmth they had only measured. Their breath steamed in the cold, rising like incense, and the frost bit their ankles. Yet they did not withdraw, for the bite was memory and not malediction. And the wind that circles the earth moved upon them and whispered, "Ye are come down, not as those who fall from disobedience, nor as those who descend in conquest, but as those who choose a rival in humility." So the watchers walked forward across the snow, not angels, not gods, but men who had lingered too long in the dark between stars, seeking the warmth of life. The teachings of the watchers, and these are the mysteries that the watchers made known unto the children of the earth in the first days, before judgment stirred in the heavens, and before the shadow of their descent lengthened across the mountains. For when they came down and set their bare feet upon the snow, and when the breath of their awe curled white before their faces, they looked upon humankind with both longing and pity. And they said within their hearts, "Let us lift the clay. Let us strengthen the frail. Let us reveal the hidden workings of creation, that humankind may rise, and though they were mighty, none held the full knowledge of the heavens alone. Each bore a fragment of eternity, a shard of the deep wisdom that lies behind the veil of stars. Thus they taught according to their measure. Azazel, the smith of heaven's fire. And Azazel came forth, bright as the coals of a hidden forge. To him belonged the knowledge of flame and metal, for he had seen iron in the womb of stars, and watched the birth of bronze in the furnaces of nebulae. He taught mortals the forging of iron from black stone, the stirring of fire until it sings, the sharpening of weapons that bite like fangs, the crafting of tools that tame wilderness, the tempering of blades that neither chip nor break, the binding of metal and flame until they become as one. He taught them to polish shields until the face of dawn lay sleeping upon them, and to make mirrors from molten silver, so that men and women beheld their own likeness, and kindled the first embers of vanity. Azazel lit the first forge, and from its smoke rose both the glory and the ruin of nations. Azazel, the art of war, and Azazel, whose hands glowed like metal newly drawn from the furnace, taught humankind the terrible symmetry of conflict, and the craft that walks beside it. For he said, "If you hold iron, yet know not its path, another hand will turn it against you." And he taught mortals the shaping of long blades that cut like moonlight, the weighting of hammers that break bone and stone, the crafting of spearheads sharp as winter's breath, the layering of hides and bronze into shields that do not yield, the forging of helmets curved like the dome of heaven, the building of walls that defy both storm and enemy. He taught the forming of ranks, the silent footfall of night, marches, the laying of snares in forest and field, and the reading of wind that carries the footsteps of armies. And Azazel spoke, "Strike not in fury, for fury blinds the hand. Strike in knowledge, that the blow may be true." But mortals struck in fury all the same. Thus Azazel's teachings became the seed of kingdoms, and the ruin of them. Kazdejah, the painter of eyes and master of roots. And Kazdejah descended like twilight, his wisdom subtle as drifting dust and quiet fire. He looked upon the sons and daughters of the earth and said, "Let the body speak its hidden story." And he taught mortals the grinding of stibium upon stone, the mixing of black powder with oil, the tracing of eyelids so the eyes shone bright beneath the sun, the darkening of gaze so the soul within seemed deeper, the shielding of vision from glare and desert wind. And the people adorned their eyes, and beauty became a language spoken without breath. Kazdejah also taught the lore of the earth's hidden veins, the root that heals and the root that poisons, the leaf that closes, wounds, the bark that eases fever, the seed that calls forth visions, the flower whose nectar brings sleep or death. He taught them to cut herbs beneath a young moon, to boil bark until bitterness became medicine, to number seeds by their dreams. But Kazdejah warned, "Beauty is a flame. It warms the wise and consumes the foolish." Yet many sought the flame for its brightness and burned. Penemu, the art of ornament to honor the body. And Penemu came not with metal nor enchantment, but with quiet craft and the language of form. For he said, "The body is clay shaped by breath. Let it be adorned as a vessel of wonder." And he taught mortals the weaving of bright threads for wrist and ankle, the braiding of hair with shells and river stones, the carving of symbols upon skin using berry dye, the crafting of bracelets like coils of sunlight, the shaping of pendants that carry memory and vow, the decorating of garments with patterns that tell lineage and tribe. He taught them to mix dyes from root and insect, to press color into cloth until it shone like dawn, to bind cloth around the body in ways that honor birth, union, and mourning. And Penemu said, Adornment is not vanity. It is remembrance. It is the story of the soul upon the flesh. But many forgot the story and remembered only themselves. And Semjaza, chief among the watchers, whose voice shook the doors of heaven, taught mysteries of enchantment and the breath that moves unseen winds. He revealed the reading of signs etched upon stone and sky, the loosening and binding of oaths, the weaving of words that stir the spirits, the naming of things that ought not be named. He taught the cry that commands stone, the whisper that awakens fire, the prayer that calls lightning to heal, and the chant that opens the hidden ear of heaven. Semjaza taught men to speak with the earth and taught the earth to answer back. Armaros, the unbinder. And Armaros, who walked in stillness, taught the dissolving of enchantments and the unmaking of that which had been bound. He revealed the word that unravels, knots, the gesture that scatters shadows, the breath that seals protection upon the brow, the rite that calms spirits wandering in desolation. He taught mortals how to turn aside curses, how to silence a malignant whisper, how to draw a circle of peace in a field haunted by the memory of war. And the people blessed Armaros, for he mended what others tore. Barakiel, the herald of the stars. And Barakiel lifted his eyes to the heights, and taught humankind to read the firmament, for he was born when the lightning first kissed the darkness. He revealed the courses of the stars, the meaning of their wanderings, and the hours hidden in the turning of constellations, the seasons appointed by the heavens. He taught the path of Orion's belt, the bending of the Pleiades, the slow march of the bear around the pole, and the song of the heavens that marks the passing of days. The fields yielded plenty when Barakiel taught, for the plough followed the wisdom of the night sky. Kokabiel, keeper of the night watch. And Kokabiel, who numbered 1,000 stars with a single glance, taught the watchers of the night to read the firmament like a scroll, to know the rising of comets that herald change, to see the trembling of new stars as omens of passing ages. He taught the moon's soft arithmetic, the counting of months by her pale steps, and the cycle that binds tide and womb. In a dance older than languages, children began to count time by the face of heaven, and thus memory took root. Sariel, the master of the lunar path. And Sariel, clothed in silver, taught the courses of the moon, the calendars traced by her wandering crown, and the weight of shadows cast upon the mountains. He revealed the omen of eclipse, the warning of bloodlight upon the horizon, the stillness that falls when the sun is swallowed by the dragon of obscuration. Through Sariel, humankind learned to fear the silence. That speaks louder than any storm. And Penemu brought forth ink and reed, for he was the first to place thought into symbol. He taught the shaping of letters, the carving of marks upon clay, the lines that carry memory across generations, the keeping of records so the dead may speak to the living. He taught children to hear the whisper of papyrus, to see with the eyes of the mind, and to preserve wisdom beyond the reach of breath. Through him, writing became the chain that binds one age to another. And let the scribes say, they fell. For the scribes shall write what the world remembers, and the world remembers poorly. Let the stones testify of sin, for stones echo accusation, with ease, though truth passes lightly over them. Let the tablets be hardened with tales of rebellion, for clay seizes judgment more readily than longing. Yet this is the hidden portion. They did not descend in wrath, nor did they shatter the order of heaven with malice. Neither did they abandon their posts through pride alone. Pride was but a small crack in them, a hairline fracture at the edge of yearning. Their sin was not that they came down, but that they desired to feel what they had only charted, to stand where their measurements ended, to let the cold bite them and call it real. If sin lived in them, it was the sin of longing. A sin older than the stars, older than law, older even than obedience, the quiet ache that moves the heavens from their courses. And if some among them stumbled, it was because they had been walking in shadow for centuries, and the light of the world dazzled them. And if some erred, it was because the gravity of earth is stronger than the commandments written in distant fire. And if some hearts strayed, it was because they were hearts at last beating with warmth they had not felt since the first dawn. But all did not stray. All did not err. For among the watchers were those whose descent was pure as snowfall, whose intent was stillness and not hunger, who sought only to witness the earth not through glass, but through breath and body, and frost beneath bare feet. Yet the scribes shall say, "They fell." For it is easier to name a whole host fallen than to weigh the truth of each heart within it. And the stones shall echo sin, because stones repeat what is struck upon them. Thus the memory of the watchers became a shadow, a tale retold by those who never felt the mountains sigh at their arrival, nor saw the warmth rising from their skin. As they stepped into the world they once guarded. But the truth is this: their descent was not a fall, but a crossing. Not rebellion, but return. And though some shadows followed them, light walked with them also, and the earth received them. Some lifted the children of earth toward wisdom. Some drew them toward desire and ruin. But knowledge itself is neither serpent nor salvation. It is the hand that holds it, that shapes blessing or calamity. And Enoch walked with God 300 years, and saw the mountains bow, and the rivers hush. He wrote them down as fallen, as angels with iron wings. But now, in the hush before the flood, he wonders, did I mistake their height for holiness? Did their long lives make me think they were eternal? They taught women to weave, men to strike fire, not from pride, but from longing. Their eyes, I now see, were not fiery, but tired. Their flesh, not stone, but soft. And when they wept at our daughters' graves, who wept harder? Me for seeing gods when only brothers had stood there. They were not omnipotent, they were only older, and wanted more life than heaven gave. So if judgment falls, let it fall gentle. They did what we do when we love. They reached